Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the match preview for our first away game of the new Premier League season. Aston Villa versus Everton, early kick-off, Saturday lunchtime game. Everton looking to still pick up their first points of the season after losing the opening day to Chelsea. Joined by Paul McAllister and Alex McMoney. How are you feeling, guys? Obviously, we're still waiting to get off the mark, but it was positives to take from that last game to take into this one, I guess, isn't there?
I'll go first. Yeah,
go on. Sorry.
There was positives to take. I mean, we didn't look like the team that was struggling to even stay in games in the spring, when it just seemed like the minute something went against us in a game, we just completely fell to bits, and the result was not going to go our way. We actually showed a bit of fight and character, I thought, against Chelsea. The only thing lacking was quality in the final third, and that's why getting a strike is so important in these last few days of the window. But we showed enough there against Chelsea in terms of spirit, in terms of effort, and in terms of just players believing in their manager and sort of knowing what they're doing, to make me think that there's nothing that we need to worry about. So even if we didn't get the win against Aston Villa, which I do absolutely want us to, and I think we probably should do, even if we didn't win this weekend, it wouldn't be anything that I'd pull my hair out over. It's still early doors in the season, and I'm still optimistic that we're going to be a much better side than we were last year when all is said and done with the transfer business.
Yeah, I think that's the big deal, isn't it? The transfer business. Still haven't brought a striker in, so it's going to be, obviously the squad's still a bit thin on the ground. The midfield's been improved. Of course, we've got Onana in, still holding out for Idrissa Gana Gueye, but we don't know what's going to happen in terms of that. Onana coming in might help. Obviously, Connor Cozy coming in definitely was needed after the injuries on the weekend. So, centre backs, we've got a bit more. We've got a bit more there now. So, how do you reckon we can line up then? Because obviously, it looks as though Lampard's going with three at the back. I'll start with you, Alex. What sort of team would you go with?
So I mean, obviously, it'd be quite a similar team that finished the game against Chelsea, I guess. And I think Holgate will start. I think Cody will get thrown straight back into the mix and sticking with that back five. I can't see Patterson being dropped because I thought he impressed against Chelsea, and obviously we're still not entirely sure on the fitness of Seamus Coleman. The midfield's a tiny bit harder to work out. Obviously, no one's too sure if Onana is going to be chucked straight in, or if, of course, there is still a chance that we sign Idrissa Gueye before Saturday. It's unlikely, but there's obviously an outside chance. So obviously people were quite impressed with both Iwobi and Doucouré in the middle, I thought, on Saturday. So it'd be interesting to see if Onana does get thrown in. I'd imagine he would be more defensive-minded player, allow Iwobi to kind of get forward a bit more and be more of a threat in the final third. And then, of course, you'd be imagining Rondon comes in, so we have that focal point, like for the likes of Pickford to aim for, and so we have a bit more structure in our attack, and I guess that means one of the wingers has got to be dropped out of Gordon, McNeil, and Gray. I'd probably be going for Gray. I thought I'd say he was the weakest out of the three on Saturday, and but it could be any of them, to be honest. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it could be any of them. I don't think any of them. I'd say McNeil was probably the best, but I think Gray and Gordon both underwhelmed on Saturday. I thought everyone behind them, I thought put in a good shift, but the front three just obviously didn't really click. I mean, none of them are out and out strikers. So that probably didn't do anyone any favours. So one of them will definitely go out, I think, for Rondon. And I think, Paul, I saw your little grimace there when the word Rondon got mentioned. I mean, we'd hoped it never come to this, but I'm pretty sure he's going to start against Villa, isn't he?
He probably will, but I wouldn't. I've made my feelings on Rondon clear loads of times. The fella's not a Premier League footballer. I'd be certainly not a Premier League footballer who should be playing for Everton. Anthony Gordon didn't work playing as a centre forward against Chelsea. Demarai Gray was very, very disappointing. I think if any one of them is going to come out the team, though, I'd probably drop Gray, because Gordon at least had the excuse that he was put in a completely unfamiliar position, and he was up against Koulibaly and Thiago Silva, who have been two of the best centre-halves in all of European football for the last 10 years. So Gordon, I think, was probably in a reprieve. I'd stick him out wide, and through the middle, I'd try Dele Alli. I mean, he looked okay in pre-season. He had a couple of good showings there, and especially the one against Kiev, and when he came off the bench, and then Frank tried it last week against Chelsea, and it really didn't work at all. But I didn't really put much of that on Dele. I thought he, at least for the first 10, 15 minutes he was on the pitch, that he was genuinely trying. He was going up for headers. He was getting little flicks. The problem was there was just no one getting close to him. Gordon and Gray were spent by that time, and Iwobi and Decore were stuck in the centre half, in the centre circle, weren't they, fighting all the midfield battles. So he was basically just up front against the back four on his own, Dele Alli. But I would start Dele Alli as the striker, or the centre forward, whatever you want to word it, and I'd leave McNeil and I'd leave Gordon in, put Gordon back on the left and drop Damari Gray. If you must insist on playing Rondon, then he's going to have to get minutes on the pitch, then throw him on for 10 minutes at the end, maybe, when we've got to just lump the ball upfield and maybe their defenders are tired and he can bully them a bit, or he can get up and win a header off a set piece. We can't be starting Rondon for me, because he started enough games last season for us to know that he's completely ineffective. He's not going to do anything. He was ineffective against I'm trying to think. He started at home in another game last season where he was. This is after he got up to full fitness as well, and he was really poor. It was at Goodison. No, apparently around that time he had all this boxing training, so apparently his sharpness had got better. It doesn't matter, but I haven't got any faith that Rondon will make any sort of positive difference if he starts. He could only make a difference maybe if we throw him on for the second half when Villa are tiring. So I'd give Dele Alli a go through the middle and see what he can do with a full start, because he's surely fit enough to start at this point, Dele Alli. And at the back, Alex made a good point. Seamus Coleman got that game in for the under-21, so his fitness will be better. If he's fit enough to start the game, I wouldn't be shocked if Frank trusts him and puts him in over Patterson. I like Patterson. I thought he did really well against Chelsea, and he absolutely shouldn't be losing his place. But I just wouldn't be surprised if Frank just decides to go for experience and if Seamus Coleman is up to start the game.
I'd be extremely disappointed if that was the case.
I would be, but it's just what managers tend to do, isn't it? They always tend to go with experience in tough away games, and you know this game's going to be niggly. It's going to be lots of tackles because it's Gerrard versus Lampard for the first time. As managers, both sets of players are going to be up for it. They're going to want to get bragging rights, and we both need points on the board because we both lost the opening weekend. So this game, I think, will just be really niggly and stop-start and a lot of fouls, and I can see Lampard maybe deciding to take Patterson out and put Coleman in if Coleman's up to it.
Somehow, I don't think he will be ready for the Premier League game, having just played for the reserves last week. I would stick with Patterson. I think he's more dynamic. Coleman hasn't got the legs anymore, I don't think. Mikalenko on the left again. I think he did well. I'd stick with that. Centre back, it's got to be. I think Connor Cozy comes straight in. It's going to be Cozy.
Yeah, he'll go straight in.
Cozy, Tarkowski, and I go with Mason Holgate definitely over Michael Keane in the third centre back position.
Holgate did well to him, to be fair, when he came on against Chelsea. I know it's going to take a lot more than that for anyone to come round and think that he's got a long-term future at Everton, but I thought Holgate, when he came on, was probably one of our solidest players. He won so many headers. There was that period in the first half where they got, I think, 5 or 6 corners on the bounce, and he was getting over. He was the first man to the header. He was heading it out rather than heading it clear of the box. He was just heading it back out for another one, but Holgate impressed me, so I wouldn't mind starting Holgate over Keane, even if Keane wasn't the nervous wreck we all know he is.
I mean, I would rather not see Keane play again for Everton. I mean, he probably will, but I'd probably have Holgate above him in the pecking order, especially if it's a 3 at the back. Holgate's a much better playing in a 3-man defence, and Keane doesn't seem to be very good in one, so it makes perfect sense to stick with Holgate as the wide centre back. He's a bit quicker as well, and Cody and Tarkowski aren't the quickest, so maybe a little bit of help in the sort of speed department at the back as well, which gives us a little bit more recovery pace. But I'd go with them 3 same fullbacks as last week. Stick with Iwobi and Decore again in midfield. I think, like you said, I'd go with same Gordon on the left, McNeil on the right, and I'd actually disagree with Paul, and unfortunately I'd have to swallow my pride and say Rondon up top, because we need a proper focal point. I don't know if Dele Alli's really going to cut the mustard in that respect
I don't think
in
I
a
haven't seen
Premier League
anything
game.
to suggest Rondon's a focal point. He might look like one. He certainly doesn't play like one.
Hence the
Not for me,
desperation
anyway.
why we really need a striker in. But for the time being, it's horses for courses. I'm gonna say start Rondon. He'll probably be rubbish because he's not a great player. But I just want to start seeing round pegs and round holes, even if the round pegs are pretty rusty round pegs.
That's a good analogy. What do you boys make of Aston Villa? Because I don't get this sort of narrative that Frank Lampard's going to be the first manager to be sacked. I think Steven Gerrard's in far more danger than Lampard is, because Frank and Everton have got no expectations this season. But Aston Villa have spent quite a bit of money, and he's been there about 9 months now. He's had time to sort of figure out what he wants to do and what his best team's probably going to look like and how he wants to approach certain games. Villa need to be, for my money, achieving something this season, whether that's getting into Europe, whether that's just a really strong top half finish, whether it's even higher than that.
You've got to improve on
top six.
I think a good season for them would be to improve on where they finished. I think getting the top half is a good indicator.
They finished 14th. They finished 14th from last season. I think an 11th or a 12th finish, if they managed that, I don't think that would be good enough. But I'm not an Aston Villa fan. There's many Aston Villa fans watching.
They've spent a lot. I think Gerrard's job is safer than first to be sacked, but so's Lampard's. I think that's where the narrative confuses people and annoys people. I think both managers will certainly get beyond Christmas, but I think Lampard, unless it's really drastic for us, I think Lampard gets a lot of time at Everton because he's done a pretty good job of uniting the fan base and seems to have a clue what he's doing in terms of what he wants Everton to be like.
Yeah.
But it seems to he seems to get what Everton needs to be as a team. I think the fact that he's just seen all the problems we as fans seen and seems to be doing his level best at least to try and fix that shows that maybe he has got more to than people give him credit for. And I don't know enough about
fans want it to work for Frank, don't they? Fans want it to work for Frank, whereas we didn't really want it to work for Allardyce. Not in the sense that, not say we wanted to lose, but the idea of Sam Allardyce, sitting there all smug on the touchline after we won was a bit sickening, wasn't it? People never really warmed to Silva or Koeman either, where it's the complete opposite with Frank. Everyone's sort of really taken in by him, at least not as a manager and a coach, at least as a person. But going back to Aston Villa and Gerrard, they've only won 2 of their last 12 Premier League games. I think he's in more trouble than people think. If they go, let's say they have a run of, let's say their first 10 games in the Premier League, let's say they win 2 or 3 of their first 10 games, that would only be 5 or 6 wins out of 22.
I don't think they'll struggle that much. I don't think they'll blow anyone away, but I think they'll be solid enough. I think they will improve on last season. I think the issue would be, I don't think regardless of how badly they may do in August, even if we beat them and a few other teams beat them, it'll be if it goes into September after the deadline and they're still struggling, then his job might be in trouble. But I don't.
That's exactly what happened to Dean Smith, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously they brought a lot of players in, but I'm surprised he didn't stick with Dean Smith a bit longer. I thought he did well at Villa.
They just saw a manager who they thought was better than him, and it's hard to really blame a club if they see something that's available that they think is better than what they've got. And it doesn't matter how harsh it might look on the outside. If they're a smart club, they'll probably just make the decision, won't they? But just Alex, mate, have you watched any of Aston Villa the last few months? Are you at all buying into the Gerrard sort of hype? And do you think Villa are a club that are really going to be looking to do something this year? Because I definitely don't. I don't want to offend Villa fans when I say that. But I don't want to. I just don't get what everyone's so convinced Gerrard's going to do well for.
Everything's going to come back and absolutely bite us on the backside here, Paul. I'm just warning you.
Oh, it can't be worse than last season, surely.
But no, I've seen a lot of people saying they're going to kind of be in that kind of West Ham position, challenging for Europe, seventh or eighth. And no, I don't really see it either. I think they kind of remind me of us about 5 years ago, like splashing the cash of all these kind of big names, but not exactly. I'm not sure how sensible some of the signings are. The likes of Coutinho, that would have been a trademark Everton signing, like back in 2017 when we had all this money straight off. And yeah, I don't really buy into it too much. And like Paul says, the form hasn't been great under Gerrard so far. Obviously, it's still very early days, but they looked abysmal against Bournemouth, like absolutely shocking. And we might have found one team that are actually worse at defending set pieces than us, which is crazy to think. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure.
On that note, before we wrap up, I thought we were better at set pieces last week. Thought we
I think
defended
so.
them
Yeah,
well.
I thought I mentioned it. Holgate was first to a lot of headers to clear them, wasn't he? And Tarkowski was impressive as well. He had a chance that Mendy had to tip over the bar, didn't he? And Mina, while he was on the pitch, was Mina. He was sort of organising and telling everyone where to be. But I just don't see us being as bad as last season. I know what people are saying we've sold with Charleston and we haven't got a striker in, but
Well, that's
even if we
the
get a
issue. I
striker
think
in who's
we
it
are
is,
going
yeah.
we're going to struggle this season. I think unless we get some striker, a winger in, we'll still struggle. We won't be the pushovers we were last season, but we'll also be a lot more toothless up top,
Yeah,
which is worrying.
we'll concede less goals this season if we can keep Tarkowski fit for the majority of it. And Cody now that he's here as well. Those two in a back three, I don't see us getting beat 3 or 4-0 regularly like we were doing. We might have the odd game here and there where it just all falls to bits and we get absolutely tonked. It'll probably be a derby, no one knows, but I think we look a lot more solid. Because that was the only difference between us and them last week. It was a penalty kick. But how many times did Jordan Pickford have to make any last gasp saves?
No,
Pickford
not a
wasn't
lot of
anywhere
saves,
near as
really.
busy as he was in the. Yeah, Pickford didn't have anywhere near as much to do as he did in the game that we won the back end of last year. So I think we're going to. I'd take a draw. If I'm not. This is not a must-win game for us. I know if we don't win and we get beat, it will feel horrible because that will be 2 losses on the spin and it will be losing to that arsehole who manages them and it will sting. But I wouldn't push the panic button at all if we lose. Be gutting, but I just think we need to keep calm. Whereas under previous managers in recent years, if we lost the first 2 games of the season, I think people would tend to start panicking, wouldn't they? But I don't think we should if that happens. But I think we're good for the draw. We'll go on to the predictions in a minute, but I don't think we're going to lose this one. I'm just not confident we're going to win it either.
And with that in mind, we'll finish up with predictions. Alex, your prediction?
Yeah, I do think a draw, and I'm of a similar mind. I think I would take one. I think a draw at Villa Park is always kind of a decent result, no matter what the circumstance. And as you were saying, defensively we already look a lot better. Speaking about Holgate briefly as well, my uncle made a very good point the other day about how any time like Holgate's in good form, it's usually when he's got like a lead next to him. And when he struggles, it's usually when he's with the likes of Keane and like the communication's not really there. But I think with someone like me, or even when he broke into the team, the likes of Ashley Williams or Phil Jagielka, he seemed to get on. He seemed to perform better, and I think having Tarkowski and Cody next to him, 2 proper defensive leaders, could definitely get the best out of him this season. So yeah, defensively we look a lot better. Still, like you say, need more going forward. Definitely need at least one striker in. If we're gonna be better going forward. But yeah, I'd take a draw. I'd probably say 1-0. I think.
Good stuff. Paul, your prediction?
I'll go for a 1-1 as well. I think it will be a very, very tight game where maybe the win is there for us, and if we maybe show a bit of what's the word? I don't want to say ambition because I don't think we'll shrink in this game. But I think that it'll be one of those games where fans will come out away afterwards thinking, you know what, we could have won that if we'd have just been a bit braver. Then that was there for us because I'm not impressed by Villa at all. But I think it's going to be a 1-1. I think both teams will settle for that just to get some points on the board, or at least we definitely will. I'll even pick the goal scorer. I think if he starts, I can see Dwight McNeil getting on the score sheet. One of those goals similar to what he got against Kiev, just on that left foot from maybe outside the box or maybe a free kick. I think that McNeil's going to have some good form early this season, and he'll get a goal. So I'll go for a 1-1 with McNeil scoring, and that won't be a bad day at all for me.
Yeah, not at all. I'm gonna go for a draw as well. I'm gonna go for a big horrible 0-0. I genuinely think it could be a 0-0.
I'd rather a 0-0 than a 1-1. I'd like a clean sheet, and personally, I'd be happy with a 0-0 or happy-ish, but I do think we'll both score.
I worry about us not scoring more than anything else. I think we might have the solidity to keep a clean sheet even away from home with the new sort of setup, but I'm worrying where the goals are going to come from until we bring more centre forwards, more reinforcements in up top. I'm going to say we grind out a 0-0, and I would absolutely take that until we get a striker in. I'm still concerned about us until there's another striker, maybe two, holding up an Everton shirt. I'm still going to worry. So I'm going to say a 0-0, and I'm not going to complain. Yeah, so there you have it, guys. We've all gone for draws, low scoring draws. Not the most exciting, but I think we'll all take a not very exciting season as long as it sort of gives us a bit more stability after last year.
As long as Steven Gerrard's pissed off and bitter afterwards, then I'll be happy. And you know for well, if Villa don't win, he will be, because he can't beat Everton in front at home with his team. He'll be absolutely furious. He'll be smashing teacups and plates in his house that night. He hated not beating us as a player. I know he beat us far more than he didn't beat us, but every time we played against Liverpool when he was playing and they didn't win the game, he was absolutely livid afterwards. He'd come out and slag us off in the papers and give interviews where...
Yeah, remember the Everton North Stoke? Do you remember Everton North Stoke?
Yeah, that was a famous one. There was the one where we beat them for the Andy Johnson day where we won 3-0, and he said afterwards, apparently, that he didn't leave his house for a week afterwards. Just Gerrard hates Everton and he loves beating Everton, and I just love Everton to piss on his parade and ruin his day in any way we can.
No hard feelings there, Paul, then clearly. But yeah, we'll finish up there, guys. Let us know your opinions on Everton's trip to Aston Villa versus Everton. Drop us a comment below. Let us know your predictions and how you feel going into the game. Get the comments in, give this video a like and subscribe for more content. Also check out the store, the link's in the description below. Get some Toffee Blues merchandise, and until next time, guys, fingers crossed for Saturday, and thanks for watching on the Toffee Blues. We'll see you soon.